The gaze of the moon-gazing beast gradually faded, replaced by a clear focus. Its roaring slowly subsided, and with a sudden surge, it actually surpassed the towering ancient tree, charging straight ahead. From a distance, the immense body of the moon-gazing beast, surrounded by countless 10,000 zhang-long tentacles swaying in all directions, resembled a vast, boundless cloud of darkness, enveloping the starry sky. As it moved forward, the howling winds it stirred up were no weaker than the towering ancient tree. Yunzi glanced at Wang Lin, noticing the change in his expression when the jade slip had shattered and made a sound. A hint of suspicion grew in his heart. Wang Lin, having cultivated for 1,000 years, was deeply cunning and meticulous. With a bitter smile, he spoke, "I didn't expect this beast to hold such a grudge. Back then, I only borrowed its help to escape the Yao clan's pursuit. Now, seeing me, it still remembers." Yunzi nodded and said, "After this battle ends, don't forget to come see me for the remaining battle calligraphy scrolls." Wang Lin respectfully replied, "I understand, Senior." Patriarch Shengong, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke, "Su Mu, bring me Shengonghu's Dao concept." Wang Lin fell silent for a moment. After a brief pause, without hesitation, he slapped his forehead, and immediately, Shengonghu's Dao concept flew out. Patriarch Shengong grabbed it, took a glance, and stored it away within his body, no longer paying attention to Wang Lin. Instead, he turned, hands clasped behind his back, and gazed ahead. The moon-gazing beast forged ahead with great speed, its tentacles spreading out. Wherever it encountered Alliance cultivators, the tentacles would immediately wrap around them. In most cases, a single touch was enough to cause those cultivators to scream in agony, their bodies immediately shrinking and withering into dry corpses. As their bodies fell, Luo Tian cultivators would swoop in to retrieve their storage pouches and magical artifacts. The towering ancient tree followed closely behind, racing toward the northern region of the Alliance. The speed of both the moon-gazing beast and the towering ancient tree was astonishing, far outpacing the speed of cultivators' magical artifacts, almost akin to teleportation. The sonic booms and howling winds they created echoed far and wide. At this moment, a massive battle had erupted in the northern region of the Alliance. Originally, the Alliance cultivators, led by the Black Fiend Demon Venerable, one of the four revered of the Cultivation Alliance, had held a decisive advantage. They had obliterated the Western Star Domain, causing a great number of Luo Tian cultivators to perish, cutting off their retreat and leaving those who charged into the north to fight alone. With this shift, the Alliance's chances of victory in this first major battle between the two domains had reached their peak. However, Yin Lazy's desperate counterattack, under the 18 Luofu blood orbs, immediately turned the tide of the battle in the northern region, causing the Alliance cultivators to be affected by the influence of the Luofu. This, however, was not the main issue. The real problem was that the barrier in the western region of the Alliance had been shattered by the towering ancient tree. This meant that the Luo Tian cultivators would no longer be isolated. They only needed to hold out a little longer, and with reinforcements arriving, the Luo Tian side could secure a decisive advantage in this battle. The Black Fiend Demon Venerable's expression darkened. He couldn't allow Yin Lazy to succeed. However, Blood God, his opponent, was an extremely formidable cultivator. As the two clashed, the sounds of divine abilities colliding reverberated through the starry sky, shaking the very heavens. The battle caused massive fluctuations, with any cultivator caught in the wave dying instantly. Fellow Taoists, don't just stand there waiting to see me make a fool of myself. Attack now. The Black Fiend Demon Venerable gave a bitter smile, then swung his right hand. Immediately, a strong gust of foul wind filled the air. With a shake of his hands, the endless stench around him transformed into a massive whale. The whale let out a mighty roar and opened its mouth wide to inhale. In an instant, the heaven and earth primordial energy in the starry sky was violently sucked into the whale formed by the Black Fiend Demon Venerable. The energy rushed toward the Blood God. At the same time, a purple beam of light suddenly descended from the heavens, its end unseen, as though it had materialized out of thin air. A long laugh echoed from within the beam as a figure stepped out. This person was middle-aged, dressed in yellow robes, and strikingly handsome. As he stepped forward, two massive dragons materialized around him, roaring fiercely. "Yin Lazy, I've heard much about your name. I am the newly ascended revered of the Alliance, Cloud Dragon Demon Venerable." Yin Lazy's eyes flashed, but he didn't make a move. However, the elders from the cultivation families who had inherited from the immortal realm, standing beside him, stepped forward together, heading straight toward the cloud dragon demon Venerable. The four revered of the Cultivation Alliance are all in the mid-shattered nirvana stage, and Blood God's cultivation is unfathomable, capable of fighting each one. As for the other three Taoists, their cultivation is in the early shattered nirvana stage, and they would need to team up to barely hold their ground. But none of these people are the strongest in this battle. Yin Lazy's eyes flickered, but he didn't look at the cloud dragon demon Venerable in yellow robes. Instead, his gaze was fixed on the distant void. Calmly, he said, "The four revered of the Cultivation Alliance have never acted alone. Xiantian, why continue to hide?" As Yin Lazy spoke, he stepped forward, appearing beside the floating 18 Luofu blood orbs in the starry sky. He pointed forward, fiercely pressing his fingers toward the distant void. A sharp, piercing laugh suddenly echoed across the entire starry sky. At the spot where Yin Lazy's fingers pointed, countless cracks immediately appeared in the sky. With a loud explosion, a dazzling white hand, as pure as jade, emerged from within the cracks and collided with Yin Lazy's fingers from afar. Bang! The entire northern starry sky trembled. Yin Lazy's eyes flashed with killing intent as he immediately took several steps back. In front of him, at the point where the starry sky had cracked, a figure was also forced back. It appeared to be a woman, and as she retreated, she let out a sharp shriek. "Yin Lazy, how dare you show your face here?" The voice was so sharp and ear-piercing, it contained an unimaginable fluctuation of primordial energy. As it echoed, all the cultivators of Luo Tian in the sky trembled violently. Some even coughed up blood, their primordial energy leaving their bodies, and they died instantly. Even the 18 Luofu blood orbs in the sky shattered with a loud bang, disintegrating in response to the shrill cry. Endless heaven and earth primordial energy surged from all directions of the starry sky, from the bodies of the collapsing cultivators, even from the shattered Luofu blood orbs, and all rushed into the figure that seemed to be a woman. Xiantian, it's been years, and you're still as androgynous as before." Yin Lazy's expression remained calm as he flicked his right sleeve. In an instant, an endless sea of flames appeared around him. As the fire spread, it created an enormous pushing force, pushing the Luo Tian cultivators away, sending them flying tens of thousands of feet. Although tens of thousands of feet may seem far, it still remained within the range of the Luofu. As a result, a chaotic battle immediately erupted, with large numbers of Alliance cultivators clashing in a deadly struggle with the Luo Tian cultivators. This was a battle of chaos, where even the slightest mistake could lead to the destruction of the body and the annihilation of the soul. Originally, the Luo Tian cultivators were no match for the Alliance cultivators, as they were still rattled from fear and waiting for an opportunity. However, with the influence of the Luofu blood orbs, the situation quickly balanced out. The battle raged on, with both sides locked in a fierce struggle. However, even in the minutiae, it seemed that the Alliance had the upper hand. Flashes of magical artifact light filled the air. In the midst of the chaotic battle, both sides suffered casualties. In the distance, an Alliance cultivator spat out blood, rapidly retreating. However, before they could even retreat 10 feet, they were instantly pierced through the chest by a sweeping sword, their primordial spirit leaving their body only to be instantly crushed by the nearby divine ability fluctuations. In the front, 3 Luo Tian cultivators, their eyes bloodshot, desperately circulated their cultivation and manipulated their magical artifacts to unleash divine arts. But in the next moment, a long rainbow shot toward them, passing through them, causing their bodies to tremble violently, and each of them fell dead. The rainbow dissolved in the distance, turning into a figure whose eyes were dark and gloomy. Licking their lips, this figure was about to flee again. But in that instant, a burst of blood light engulfed them. Screams rang out as this cultivator's body turned to blood. It was the blood ancestor and the black fiend demon Venerable, locked in battle, who had passed through here. With every death, the blood of the fallen cultivators surged upward, flying into the 17 Luofu blood orbs. Even some primordial spirits, upon bursting from their bodies, were drawn into the 17 Luofu due to severe damage. Almost every moment, a cultivator perished. The battle between the two factions, with tens of thousands of cultivators involved, could only be described as earth-shattering. Blood flowed like a river, swept into the Luofu blood orbs. Endless flashes of magical artifact light blinked in and out of existence, accompanied by the sounds of roars and shrieks, making this place seem like a land of death. A massive amount of blood and primordial spirits were absorbed by the 17 Luofu blood orbs, causing them to become even more sinister. As the battle intensified, the booming sounds rang out continuously, and the starry sky was filled with countless cracks. The cold wind blowing out from those cracks could not extinguish the flames of war between the two factions. Instead, it only made the chaotic battle even fiercer. In the center of this battlefield, Yin Lazy was surrounded by raging flames, casting a fiery glow that almost illuminated half the starry sky. Across from him stood Xun'er, surrounded by endless cold energy, accompanied by the sound of ice cracking. Though faint, this sound could be clearly heard by everyone on the battlefield. Under the sound of ice cracking, countless glacial blades rose into the air, their majestic momentum shooting toward the heavens. Looking at Xun'er's body, the surrounding glaciers were like towering swords, aimed at the sky, opposing Yin Lazy in a dramatic showdown. Yin Lazy, many years ago, I let you escape. Today, you won't even need Xun'er to intervene. I can slay you right here. Xun'er's sharp voice was like the edge of an ice blade, carrying a chilling aura and a murderous intent. Though Xun'er appeared to be a charming woman, upon closer inspection, it was clear that this was a man. His chest was flat, and though his throat was small, it was oddly contorted. Yin Lazy's gaze remained calm. Raising his right hand, he grasped the air, and immediately, the heaven and earth primordial energy around him began to wildly gather, forming a white fireball in his palm. Staring at Xun'er, he spoke slowly. Years ago, I left with a promise. If I ever returned, I would ensure the extinction of the Cultivation Alliance, no matter the cost, even if it means my blood flooding the heavens. Meanwhile, in the western region of the Alliance, the moon-gazing beast led the towering ancient tree, speeding toward the Northern Alliance region. They were getting closer. Wang Lin, standing atop the towering ancient tree, gazed ahead, his eyes occasionally flickering towards the moon-gazing beast, its gaze shifting unpredictably. Ancient God Infant. A faint glint of cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. Xun'er let out a sharp laugh as he swung both arms forward. Instantly, endless towering ice blades materialized behind him. With a deafening roar, they shot upwards, vibrating violently, and surged ahead. The two did not hesitate. One after another, they unleashed their divine abilities, causing primordial energy to ripple through the starry sky, as if reversing the very heavens and earth, spreading out far and wide. The entire northern region plunged into chaos. Yin Lazy's gaze flickered. With a sweep of his right hand through the air, several immortal realm fragments appeared, drifting across the sky. He lowly muttered, "Immortal world wheel." At his command, the fragments surrounding him erupted with a thunderous roar. They immediately began spinning around each other, triggering a sudden storm. The storm swept through, knocking back all nearby cultivators, forcing them to retreat. Xun'er's expression darkened. He raised his right hand and pointed to the sky, shouting, "Frost rule." In an instant, an overwhelming wave of cold energy poured from his right hand, spreading wildly. With a series of booming sounds, towering ice glaciers materialized, rapidly extending towards Yin Lazy. Ice. Xun'er's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he pointed a finger at Yin Lazy. In that moment, dense cold air enveloped Yin Lazy, its power formed by a set of rules. The air condensed and swiftly formed large ice layers, trapping Yin Lazy within. At that instant, a roar from the distant starry sky erupted. The roar of the moon-gazing beast sent shockwaves through the heavens and earth, causing the starry sky to appear to shake. This scene made everyone from the Alliance pale in shock. The Black Fiend Demon Venerable and Cloud Dragon Demon Venerable, who had been battling Blood God and others, both retreated with grim expressions. With a cold snort, Xun'er's eyes flickered, but instead of retreating, he stepped forward, heading straight for the trapped Yin Lazy. As he neared, Xun'er's right hand pressed down on the ice layer without hesitation. In that instant, a destructive force surged into the ice layer, stacking in a strange manner, creating a shockwave that raced toward Yin Lazy. Suddenly, within the ice, Yin Lazy's eyes glowed with cold light. He let out a long laugh and, with a sudden explosion of power that had been hidden until now, broke free from the shackles of the early shattered Nirvana stage, skyrocketing in strength to an unfathomable degree. You've broken through. Xun'er's face changed drastically. Without thinking, he was about to retreat. The ice layer trapping Yin Lazy cracked with a series of sharp sounds, fissures spreading across it. In the blink of an eye, the ice shattered, exploding into countless fragments. Yin Lazy laughed long and loud as he took a step forward, merging into the heavens and earth. But instead of advancing, his primordial energy surged wildly, causing the entire starry sky to ripple intensely. This directly affected the shrinking earth technique. At the same time, Yin Lazy formed hand seals, causing a red flame to spread like a roaring fire dragon, cutting off Ji Xiantian's retreat. Next, Yin Lazy exhaled a breath of primordial spirit essence, which landed on one of the rotating immortal realm fragments. The fragment trembled, and its rotation speed suddenly increased by tenfold. It shot out, trapping Ji Xiantian within. The windstorm created by the rotation howled, and Ji Xiantian's face darkened further. He thrust both hands outward, gathering massive amounts of primordial energy, but just as he was about to break free, Yin Lazy stepped forward. As he neared, his body erupted in flames, and with a single finger, flames shot out, surrounding the storm and transforming it into a fire dragon. At that moment, from afar, the massive form of the moon-gazing beast seemed to instantaneously teleport, its countless massive tendrils swaying, making the beast appear even more ferocious. Roars echoed, and for a moment, both sides of the battlefield in the north paused, each cultivator stepping back in shock, staring at the scene before them. The Black Fiend Demon Venerable took one glance at the moon-gazing beast and immediately felt his scalp tingle, hastily retreating with a bitter smile. The Cloud Dragon Demon Venerable, equally stunned, widened his eyes in disbelief. Ji Xiantian hesitated, his primordial energy surging as he tried to break free, but Yin Lazy was not about to let him escape. With his arms spread wide, the fire sea of primordial energy surrounded him, locking Ji Xiantian in place. Behind the moon-gazing beast, a towering ancient tree followed. The tree was so massive that, as it howled, it changed direction the moment the moon-gazing beast advanced. It crashed forward, heading straight for Ji Xiantian, who was trapped by Yin Lazy's firestorm. The towering ancient tree was still far off, yet a strange force enveloped the heavens and earth. The thunderous roar spread endlessly, its speed accelerating with each passing moment. Ji Xiantian's pupils constricted. He couldn't escape in such a short time. In the midst of the crisis, he quickly formed hand seals, tapping multiple times in front of him. Each tap conjured a blue vortex, and in an instant, 13 such vortices appeared around him, radiating an ocean-like, deep blue hue. As these vortices appeared, they rapidly expanded and, in the blink of an eye, drilled into Ji Xiantian's body. As the first vortex entered, a surge of blue energy emerged from his body. After all 13 vortices entered his body, Ji Xiantian was engulfed in a blinding blue light. 13 layers of blue energy formed around him, clearly visible to all. This was the manifestation of Ji Xiantian's rule power. The extreme cold was represented by the color blue, and throughout Ji Xiantian's life, he had only condensed these 13 blue energies. He believed that if he could eventually merge them into a single entity, his cultivation might break through to a higher level. In that instant, as the 13 blue energies flashed, the towering ancient tree arrived. Words cannot describe the scene as the tree drew near. In that moment, it felt as though the heavens and earth had frozen. Everything disappeared, and all that remained was the massive tree, its unstoppable momentum obliterating everything in its path. No person, no magical artifact, no thing, not even a cultivation star, could halt the tree's advance, nor could they damage it in the slightest. This tree, once able to support the arrival of the ancient immortal domain, now, with a single sweep, threatened to shatter the entire starry sky. The tree came crashing down with an unimaginable force, as though it intended to pierce the starry sky itself. In the next instant, it collided with the rotating fragments of the immortal realm. With a simple yet devastating impact, the giant tree slammed into the fragment of the immortal realm, causing a massive explosion. Bang! One of the fragments shattered, and the shockwave spread instantly. Almost in the blink of an eye, several fragments near the point of impact collapsed, each exploding with a deafening roar. The destruction of these fragments was comparable to the collapse of a cultivation star, as countless shattered pieces rolled back and fell upon Ji Xiantian, who was trapped inside the encirclement. The endless impact turned into a furious wind and thunder, pushing outward in all directions. The blue energy around Ji Xiantian flickered violently, and just as the fragments collapsed around him, the massive tree collided directly with his body. Bang! Ji Xiantian's body trembled, and immediately, the blue energy around him began to crack. It was far from over. The moment the tree made contact, an endless surge of power erupted from the giant tree, crashing forward like waves, each one pushing violently into Ji Xiantian's body. Bang! 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 The blue energy on Ji Xiantian's body shattered layer by layer. In just a moment, 6 layers were destroyed. His body was pushed backward, out of his control, retreating rapidly. This retreat was caused by the speed of the tree's collision, or rather, it was entirely driven by the force of the tree. At the same time, when the tree struck, Yin Lazy's killing intent flared in his eyes. Flames erupted around his body as he pressed forward with immense force. As the flames neared Ji Xiantian, 3 more layers of blue energy crumbled. Ji Xiantian's eyes widened in shock. Everything was happening too fast. Almost instantly, 9 layers of blue energy had collapsed. At the brink of life and death, just as Ji Xiantian was about to escape, Patriarch Shengong and Lai Yunzi, both from the towering tree, stepped forward. Divine abilities descended, transforming into an overwhelming force that struck Ji Xiantian's body. Under the joint assault of the towering ancient tree and 3 powerful figures, Yin Lazy, Lai Yunzi, and Patriarch Shengong, Ji Xiantian, who was already weaker than Yin Lazy, was almost torn apart. In such an onslaught, his very soul seemed ready to scatter. However, Ji Xiantian was a legendary figure with tens of thousands of years of experience in battle. Though faced with such a crisis, it was not so easy to kill him here. In the face of death, Ji Xiantian let out a ferocious howl. His eyes shone with determination as the last 4 layers of blue energy around his body detonated. A deafening explosion shook the heavens and earth. As the 4 layers of blue energy self-destructed, Lai Yunzi was immediately knocked back, tumbling through the air, followed by Patriarch Shengong. Even Yin Lazy hesitated for a moment, retreating with a quiet sigh. Despite being able to kill Ji Xiantian, he would be injured in the process. In this alliance star domain, such an outcome was far from ideal. The 3 supreme divine art cultivators were shaken off, and Ji Xiantian's face turned pale as he coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood. His body, propelled by the self-explosion force of the azure intent, quickly retreated. In a sharp voice, he yelled, "Yin Lazy, if this grudge is not avenged, I swear I will never be human again." Behind him was the moon-gazing beast. As Ji Xiantian fell back, he grabbed the air, and a rift immediately appeared beside him. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, not caring if he might get lost inside the rift. He was determined to enter. At that moment, Wang Lin stood atop the towering ancient tree, though some distance from the front. The earlier shockwave had also affected him, and his primordial energy was unstable. He watched Ji Xiantian retreat rapidly and glanced at Yin Lazy. Gritting his teeth, he suddenly extended his right hand forward and softly uttered, "Freeze." In the void, countless fine threads spread, instantly wrapping around Ji Xiantian as he was about to step into the rift. This was the weakest moment of Ji Xiantian's life. His azure intent, all 13 layers, had collapsed. He had to leave quickly and find a place to heal. If he stayed here, he would surely die. He was a decisive person, and he had self-destructed 4 layers of azure intent just to gain a chance to escape. He needed to report to Zhong Xuanzi that Yin Lazy's cultivation had surpassed the mid-shattered nirvana stage. Yin Lazy's cultivation has definitely not reached the 3rd step, but it far exceeds the mid-shattered nirvana stage. This person must have reached the full completion of the 2nd step. Just as Ji Xiantian was about to step into the rift, he immediately felt countless invisible threads wrapping around his body. His right foot, which was about to enter the rift, slightly slowed down. Normally, such entanglement wouldn't have bothered him at all. With a single movement, the threads would have collapsed, and even a mere rebound could have destroyed the caster's body and soul. But in this critical moment, even a slight delay in speed had a tremendous impact. Ji Xiantian's expression instantly changed, while Yin Lazy froze for a moment before his eyes burst with excitement. Without hesitation, he took a step forward, instantly closing the distance to Ji Xiantian. He slapped his right hand out, pressing it against Ji Xiantian's body and forcibly knocking him out of the rift. In that instant when Ji Xiantian was forced out, moon-gazing, not far away, suddenly opened its mouth wide and swallowed fiercely. The sequence of events was so fast that as Ji Xiantian was pushed out, moon-gazing had already devoured him in a single moment. Ji Xiantian roared in fury, but he was swallowed alive. As soon as the immobilization art landed on Ji Xiantian, Wang Lin's entire body trembled violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It felt as if he had been struck by a tremendous force, and he quickly retreated. His primordial energy nearly collapsed. The difference in cultivation between him and Ji Xiantian was too great. Now, affected by the rebound force, his body made loud cracking noises as vast amounts of blood mist sprayed out. "Senior Yin Lazy, I've done my best," Wang Lin shouted desperately as he retreated. His intention was to increase his leverage in front of Yin Lazy and the others, making Yin Lazy owe him a huge favor. This was also a pledge to gain the full protection of Luotian. This was a solid pledge, one that no one could erase or forget. With this achievement, Wang Lin would forever be the most notable contributor in the war between the two star domains. No one could disregard this. If Wang Lin ever faced danger in the future and Luo Tian chose to ignore him, it would have a devastating impact on Luo Tian's side. Who else would be willing to give their all in such a grand battle? Furthermore, everything had been carefully planned. With his cultivation and the ancient god physique, if his opponent had been at their peak, the rebound force might have killed him. But now, with his opponent severely injured and fleeing in a hurry, his interference, even if unsuccessful, would not result in his own death from the rebound. Sometimes, when there is no path forward, one has to take a gamble and create a new path. Right now, Wang Lin was carving out a clear road for himself in the future. In reality, Wang Lin's calculation was correct. Without the ancient god physique, he would certainly have collapsed and died. But with it, and with Xun'er being at his weakest, he was only slightly injured. Yin Lazy laughed loudly, his body swaying as he charged toward Wang Lin. Almost instantly, he was next to Wang Lin, who was still retreating. With a wave of his right hand, he slapped Wang Lin's back. Suddenly, an unimaginable surge of primordial energy exploded from Yin Lazy's body, entering Wang Lin's body. As it circulated, it immediately stabilized Wang Lin's primordial energy and even healed his injuries. Moreover, the massive energy that flooded Wang Lin's body was severed by Yin Lazy, leaving all of it inside Wang Lin's body. At this moment, Wang Lin only felt his primordial energy surge dramatically. His primordial spirit opened its eyes and kept absorbing, a powerful sensation climbing rapidly. In the end, his cultivation had nearly reached the peak of the early glimpse of Nirvana stage, and with enough comprehension, he could directly step into the mid-glimpse of Nirvana stage. This time, Yin Lazy could be said to have held nothing back, granting Wang Lin an unimaginable and enormous fortune. For a second-step cultivator, the increase was extremely difficult. Apart from understanding the conceptual realm, one also had to absorb enough heaven and earth primordial energy, which would consume countless years. Good. Yin Lazy stopped, looking at Wang Lin, laughing heartily. Sumu, you've made a great contribution. This Xun'er is the leader of the 4 revered ones of the Cultivation Alliance. If we rank them, he would be in the 9th position among the Cultivation Alliance back then. I'll remember this merit, Luo Tian Star Domain. I'll remember it. Yin Lazy's laughter revealed a hint of exhilaration. Xun'er was one of the enemies who had once hunted him down. This unexpected turn of events left the surrounding cultivators with strange expressions. Especially Lai Yunzi and Patriarch Shengong, their gazes towards Wang Lin had changed. Lai Yunzi showed appreciation and nodded towards Wang Lin. Patriarch Shengong, who had always been cold, now showed a slight smile towards Wang Lin. As for the other cultivators, the black-robed elder and the white-robed youth, their expressions were complicated. But more than anything, there was admiration. If it were them, they definitely wouldn't have had the resolve to do what Wang Lin had done. Even the woman in palace attire looked at Wang Lin with a touch of interest. She was already a beautiful woman, but now, the look she gave him was incredibly captivating. Sumu, after this battle, we will reward you accordingly. Not only will I return the Thunder Beast to you, but I will also give you a treasure to protect yourself. With this treasure, in the Alliance Star Domain, no one will be able to harm you, except for a few limited individuals. Yin Lazy laughed, taking a step forward, heading straight toward the Black Fiend Demon Venerable and Cloud Dragon Demon Venerable. Wang Lin remained calm. As his primordial energy circulated, he immediately felt his own strength growing. He took a deep breath. His earlier actions had paid off. At this moment, the towering ancient tree crashed into the battlefield in the northern part of the Alliance, causing a shockwave that forced the Alliance cultivators to retreat. The scene where Xun'er was devoured by the moon-gazing beast made every cultivator's mind shake, and the battle intent immediately weakened across the board. The moon-gazing beast was incredibly powerful. In its frenzied roar, its tentacles swept across, and any cultivator that was touched immediately shriveled, their life force drained away. The Black Fiend Demon Venerable and Cloud Dragon Demon Venerable kept retreating, their hearts shaken. At that moment, they no longer had any desire to continue the fight. Just as they were about to flee. Suddenly, from the distant northern starry sky, a forceful impact surged toward them, not weaker than the towering ancient trees. It swept across the vast expanse. In the starry sky, hundreds of towering conical towers sped toward them. Each tower was hundreds of meters tall, with nearly 100 cultivators standing atop them. A dense killing intent frantically tore through the surroundings. From a distance, these speeding conical towers appeared countless, each one giving off a sharp whistling sound as they rushed forward. A mighty aura pressure rushed from afar, and around these 100 towering conical towers, massive cultivation stars appeared, with 4,000-meter-tall giants carrying these stars, marching toward them. These 4,000-meter giants each had a battle axe mark on their foreheads. They were members of the giant demon clan. Each of these cultivation stars carried a single figure, 3 of whom were elderly, with white hair, emanating an immortal and imposing aura. One could feel their presence without them needing to show anger. The other figure was a woman, dressed in a water silk blue dress. Her long hair cascaded over her shoulders, and in her delicate right hand, she held an 8-petaled lotus platform. Her phoenix-like eyes, filled with killing intent, were locked ahead. The arrival of this group of Alliance cultivators immediately attracted the attention of everyone around. The cultivators from the Alliance all revealed expressions of joy, quickly retreating but quickly gathering together. On the Luo Tian side, the Blood God and 3 other ancestors, who had inherited from the immortal world, stood in the starry sky, looking coldly ahead. Yin Lazy, with a single step, waved his right hand, causing a sea of flames to form in front of him, charging forward. At the same time, the moon-gazing beast roared again, sending endless waves and extending its tentacles. As for the tens of thousands of Luo Tian cultivators outside the towering ancient tree, they immediately took to the air, each unleashing their divine abilities and magical artifacts. A great battle was about to unfold. At this moment, the woman in the water silk blue dress calmly spoke. "Please, Senior Wudong-chan." As soon as these words left her mouth, a loud laugh suddenly echoed from the distant starry sky. A patch of black clouds spread across the sky, surging toward them. Within the clouds stood a man, middle-aged, with a square face and dressed in a purple robe. His presence alone commanded respect. As he arrived, endless black mist swirled around him, and thunderous roars echoed. "Yin Lazy, I've heard of your great name for a long time. Today, do you dare to fight me, Wudong-chan?" The middle-aged man spoke with an overwhelming arrogance. As his words left his mouth, the black mist beneath his feet surged forward, heading straight for Yin Lazy. Yin Lazy didn't recognize Wudong-chan from his memories. Clearly, this person was a recent addition since his departure from the Alliance Star Domain. However, Yin Lazy didn't underestimate him. The aura emanating from this man made him feel highly cautious. "If you seek battle, then let's battle," Yin Lazy coldly declared. With a single step, he merged into the black mist. Immediately, the mist shot upwards into the starry sky, where violent turmoil ensued. Fiery divine arts howled through the air, and booming sounds echoed continuously. "Seal this moon gaze." The woman in the water silk blue dress spoke calmly, and in an instant, the hundreds of conical towers around her emitted a piercing whistling sound, each increasing its speed 100-fold. They were like a series of sharp swords, charging forward toward moon gaze. Wang Lin silently cursed. The battle seemed to favor Luo Tian, but without revealing his emotions, he silently began retreating along the towering ancient tree. Yet, he immediately felt a sharp gaze lock onto him. It was the woman in the water silk blue dress, looking at him from afar with a complex expression. Now was not the time to contemplate this. Wang Lin remained unfazed and continued his retreat. Ahead, hundreds of conical towers sped toward moon gaze with deafening howls, as if tearing the very fabric of heaven and earth. These conical towers were like sharp swords, piercing the starry sky. Moon gaze roared in anger, and countless tendrils extended from its body to entangle the incoming towers. At that moment, one of the conical towers, the fastest, was immediately ensnared by moon gaze's tendrils. However, upon contact, the tower exploded with a loud bang, disintegrating into countless black fragments that scattered around. As for the cultivators on top of the tower, they had already jumped off and fled the moment it was about to be destroyed. Next, more conical towers came crashing toward moon gaze with ear-piercing shrieks. The vast majority were wrapped up by moon gaze's tendrils and exploded into countless black dust. As the black dust spread, the remaining conical towers suddenly increased their speed by several times, resembling flying swords. They pierced through the black powder, skillfully avoiding moon gaze's tendrils, and with the sound of intense wind, they stabbed straight into moon gaze's body. Boom! With a massive crash, one conical tower struck moon gaze, causing it to crumble from the tip. Tiny cracks rapidly spread throughout, and in the blink of an eye, the entire tower shattered into countless pieces. Boom, boom, boom. The thunderous sounds continued to reverberate as the remaining towers that hadn't been ensnared collided with Moongaze's body, disintegrating into dust. Throughout this, Moongaze's furious roars filled the air, almost as if it had gone mad. Its tendrils swept through the area, and some cultivators who were too slow to dodge were swept away and perished. Seal. The woman in the water silk blue dress uttered softly, but her voice clearly reverberated through the starry sky. In an instant, all the black dust surrounding Moongaze began to emit an eerie glow. As the dust spread apart, it formed a spherical shape, trapping Moongaze inside. Blood-red light began to flood the interior. At this moment, a truly shocking scene was unfolding on nearly 100 cultivation stars chosen by the Cultivation Alliance across the eastern, southern, and northern regions of the Alliance star domain. On one of these cultivation stars, almost all the cultivators had mobilized. Countless demonic beasts were dragged from their resting places and imprisoned within a massive formation on the continent of the star. This formation was circular, covering a radius of thousands of miles. Inside, tens of thousands of demonic beasts were densely packed. Outside the formation, numerous cultivators hovered in the sky, waiting for orders. Among them, an elder with red hair stood out, clearly holding a distinguished position. All the other cultivators surrounded him, forming a protective circle. At the moment the woman in the water silk blue dress spoke, her voice seemed to pierce through the void and distant starry sky, reaching the ears of those far away. In an instant, the red-haired elder's eyes gleamed, and he raised his right hand. At his gesture, all the surrounding cultivators immediately moved in perfect unison, unleashing their divine abilities and magical artifacts toward the demonic beasts in the formation. The air was filled with the pitiful howls of the beasts, and in the massive formation, blood instantly filled the area. The formation began to turn, as though absorbing the blood and souls, and in an instant, all the blood from the tens of thousands of beasts was sucked dry. A similar scene unfolded simultaneously across nearly 100 cultivation stars. This was one of the top 10 formations of the Cultivation Alliance, the Million Beast Blood-Locking Heaven Formation. The nearly 100 towering spires were crafted using a special material combined with sub-formation refinement. At this moment, with the demise of millions of demon beasts within the cultivation stars in the Northern Alliance, a large area of black powder around the body of the moon-gazing beast immediately exuded a dense, nauseating stench of blood. The stench was so strong that it almost sent a shock to one's mind upon inhalation. In the blood-filled air, the black powder strangely began to writhe. Almost instantaneously, it solidified, and in the blink of an eye, the enormous body of the moon-gazing beast was completely sealed by a layer of black, soil-like substance. Outside the moon-gazing beast's body, the black powder solidified into a massive sphere, trapping the moon-gazing beast inside. Only muffled roars continued to echo, reverberating throughout the starry sky. At that moment, thousands of cultivators from the Alliance, who had leapt off the collapsing conical towers, surged forward with their magical artifacts and divine powers, heading straight for Luotian. This scene instantly stunned the Luotian cultivators. Lai Yunzi and Patriarch Shingong exchanged a glance before soaring into the air from the towering ancient tree. Lai Yunzi waved his right hand through the void, and immediately vast amounts of heaven and earth primordial energy gathered before him, transforming into over 100 small flags. Among the backup forces from Luotian, they were the highest-ranking figures, only second to the elder of the Xiang family and the man from the Gongsun clan, both of whom had handed over command to Lai Yunzi and Patriarch Shingong before their departure. Lai Yunzi, in particular, was shouldering an extremely important mission. He grabbed a portion of the flags, tossed them aside, and shouted, 72 Earth Fiends, take your respective cultivators and annihilate all Alliance members. Understood. Several dozen Luotian cultivators immediately flew out, each holding a flag, leading their respective teams into the chaotic battle, charging at the cultivators who had leapt off the towers, engaging in a fierce melee. The sky reverberated with thunderous roars, the endless glow of magical artifacts and divine techniques flashing in a dizzying, unpredictable display as waves of carnage unfolded. Patriarch Shingong also grabbed dozens of small flags, casting them in all directions as he solemnly commanded, 36 celestial guardians, follow me and break the moon beast seal. As he spoke, he took a step and charged toward the seal that trapped the moon-gazing beast. Dozens of cultivators immediately followed, and behind them, their respective teams of cultivators surged forward, with the young child, Big Head, among them. Sumu, you forguard me. Lai Yunzi's gaze swept over Wang Lin, the woman in palace attire, the elder in black robes, and the young man in white. He then crossed his legs and sat on the ancient tree. The tree trembled and stubbornly halted in the starry sky, no longer charging forward. As Lai Yunzi sat, his hands formed a seal, and with a flick of his brow, his divine sense flashed, and 3 battle scrolls materialized around him. Lai Yunzi's divine sense pressed onto one of the battle scrolls, sending a booming sound of divine thought through the air. Under this divine thought, one of the 17 Luofu blood orbs at the top of the starry sky exploded with a loud bang, and from within, a blood-red figure stepped out. The figure, fully made of blood, immediately roared and charged toward the battlefield. At this moment, Blood God and others were not idle. The Black Fiend Demon Venerable and Cloud Dragon Demon Venerable swept through, immediately engaging in battle with Blood God and others, creating a separate battlefield in the starry sky, where the fight became increasingly intense. The Blood figure rushed directly into the area where the Black Fiend Demon Venerable and Blood God were fighting. His arrival forced the Black Fiend Demon Venerable to retreat in haste, caught off guard. Lai Yunzi's divine sense trembled and he immediately entered a meditative state to recover. Although his cultivation was not on par with Yin Lazy or Blood God, his role in this battle was nonetheless crucial. The 18 Luofu blood orbs, although not originally part of his war family's possessions, could only be controlled by the war family within the Luo Tian star domain. This technique, derived from the battle scrolls and an inherited trace of power, was one of Luo Tian's greatest secrets. Never let anyone from the war family touch the Luofu blood orbs. However, this secret was broken just before the battle between Luo Tian and the Alliance. Yin Lazy, the elder of the Xiang family, and the man from the Gongsun clan personally decided that this time, the Luofu blood orbs would be controlled by Lai Yunzi. Lai Yunzi's divine sense slightly recovered, and without hesitation, he pointed to another battle scroll. The divine sense entered the battle calligraphy, instantly transforming into an unimaginable wave of energy that swept across the heavens and the starry sky. Among the remaining 16 Luofu blood orbs, one of them exploded with a loud roar, countless blood droplets converging to form a blood avatar once again. With a world-shaking roar, the blood avatar darted forward, heading straight for the battlefield where Patriarch Shengong was engaged with the Celestial Gang Star and the Moon Gaze Seal. Among the Alliance cultivators, the woman in the blue water gauze skirt furrowed her brows, raising her jade hand slightly. Immediately, a towering member of the giant demon clan appeared beside her. With a roar, he stepped forward. The cultivation star he carried was not large, only 1/100th the size of a normal cultivation star. Despite this, the giant demon clan member was seemingly insignificant compared to the star, yet he moved incredibly fast. As he sprinted, he thrust forward with great force, sending the cultivation star roaring ahead, aiming towards the remaining 15 blood orbs of Luofu in the starry sky. On the cultivation star, an old man floated. His eyes flashed, and as the cultivation star sped toward the 15 Luofu blood orbs, he followed closely behind. However, as he approached, the suppressive force emanating from the 15 blood orbs grew stronger, and the old man's expression turned grave as he hurried forward. Meanwhile, the giant demon clan member roared as he charged towards Lai Yunzi, who was seated cross-legged with his primordial spirit hovering above a massive ancient tree. Lai Yunzi's form was slightly dim, but he suddenly opened his eyes and quickly shouted, "Luo Hong, Zhou Xingtian, you two must go and guard the Luofu blood orbs."